Hello again, everyone, and welcome back to This Week in Guns, brought to you by Patriot Patch Company and Primary Arms. This show offers commentary on the latest firearms industry news, information, and buzz. I'm your host, Matt LaRosiere, and I'm on here with my co-host, Sean Heron. Once again, Sean, how are you doing?
Man, I'm so tired right now. I don't even know why. Like, ever since Saturday, tell me if anyone else is having this. Ever since Saturday, I can't sleep past 5 a.m.
So I've been tired as hell, but it's been because for like the past few months, I won't go to sleep until after 4 a.m.
Yeah, no, I'm going to bed about midnight, but I'm like midnight 1 every morning. I don't know what it is. And I'm waking up at 1, 3, and 5. So only odd numbers. If anyone else out there is bearing this affliction.
Sounds like a curse.
Yeah. I was like, who the cursed me? Oh, let's see. Timestamp at
yeah, there you go.
4 seconds.
Yeah.
Okay. Sorry, Ben. Anyway, yeah. So I think
Ben, he said the word. Now you're gonna have to beep it a bunch of times.
1 minute 9, 1 minute 12. And now it's music shooting. Perfect.
Yeah, no, yeah. Well, I'll have to beep it too. But
funny
anyway,
story. The people that listen to This Week in Guns hate We Like Shooting.
Really?
Yeah, a lot of them.
Well, I love you, This Week in Guns people.
Yeah. Well, I feel like that's like a double burn.
It's not intended as such. It's intended as audience appreciation.
Perfect.
But anyway, so yeah, like I promise we're gonna start one episode without talking about the weather, and it's hard. Right?
I didn't.
I know. I'm just saying it's hard.
Yeah.
Because I so desperately want to say you're wearing a t-shirt this time, but I'm not going to say it.
Well, there's like 8 inches of snow outside. We got dumped on last night.
But you turned the heater on.
I turned the heater on earlier, so not a big deal. Yeah, it was good to go.
All right, so let's get straight into it. There's something really stupid to start out with. Something really stupid about smart guns. So there's all these computer nerds out there, and they, you give them a couple pieces of AI, they write a couple fake episodes of Seinfeld, right? And now all of a sudden they think they can solve all the world's problems. Have you ever read those, by the way? These supposedly AI generated like Seinfeld episodes?
Yes, and they're actually quite wonderful.
They are, but I don't believe that they're actually AI generated. But if they are, they're great.
Yeah.
But yeah, so a group of researchers from the Rensselaer Polytechnic Institute in New York, they recently published a paper detailing the potential of AI intervention to prevent mass shootings, a so-called ethical lockout for firearms. And so, yeah, we check this out. This was posted on the Next Web Neural, a human-centric AI news and analysis page. And so basically, you read all this stuff, and they're saying that the detractors are saying, "Oh, the technology is not there," but these guys in favor of it are saying it absolutely is there. And that's because their approach is kind of like hitting it with a massive hammer. Like their example is like, a mass shooting could happen in a Walmart parking lot. Well, if the gun knows there's only certain places that it could be fired, then it just won't work because it's in the Walmart parking lot. And they say this in so many words. Here's their like example situation. The shooter is driving to Walmart, an assault rifle and a massive amount of ammunition in his vehicle. The AI we envisage knows that this weapon is there and that it can only be used for very specific purposes in very specific environments. And of course, it knows what those purposes and environments are. At Walmart itself, in the parking lot, any attempt on the part of the would-be assailant to use his weapon or even position it for use in any way will result in it being locked out by the AI. In the particular case at hand, the AI knows that killing anyone with the gun, except perhaps e.g. for self-defense purposes, is unethical. Since the AI rules out self-defense, the gun is rendered useless and locked out.
Oh, heck no. Like what? That doesn't even make sense. Like, so you can only use self-defense. And this takes into account that like every gun in the universe has this AI, whatever, built into it, which is not the case. There would always be black market stuff. So you would be unable to defend yourself and it would be utterly useless and ridiculous. And how would the AI know about all the ammunition in the car as well? And also, this is not a thing that happens very often.
Yeah. But on top, but naturally you'd be using the smart ammo, they
got to have smart ammo.
I don't know. Maybe they just Look, it's obviously ridiculous. It's so ridiculous it becomes difficult to joke about because
I know.
The line gets blurred between what they're actually saying and not. But I mean, as you know, whenever you and I get involved in self-defense situations, we go to the self-defense shooting range. So obviously the GPS would know that if we're not at the self-defense range, the gun just shouldn't be on. I don't really see an issue with that. I think it's pretty rational.
Well, okay. Well, what about this? And I don't think that they've actually. Okay, I wasn't talking to you, Google. I don't think they've solved this yet. But self-driving cars,
right?
So self-driving cars driving along, pedestrian gets pushed out into the street, bumped out into the street, whatever it is. Car has to make the decision: do I hit pedestrian or do I kill my occupant by crashing into a semi that's driving next to us?
Mm-hmm.
What does the car choose?
This has actually been written about a lot, and they've the companies have different ways of approaching this. Usually they will analyze, like, it'll be a sheer numbers game. But I don't have an answer for how they rule that out, but I do know that is I don't think it's AI though. I think it's just a simple numbers game, right?
I think so too. But the problem with it is until it chooses me, no matter what, as the occupant of the car, like, I don't want it. Like, it's not interesting to me at all. Like, I don't ever want it to be like, oh, it's a numbers game. Sorry, you're
right,
rude, buddy.
Well, and also, like, so that it takes out all of the split-second decision-making that a human is able to process, right? So I don't think a computer could understand that maybe two guys were jumping out in front of a car, which happens here in my home country of Florida quite often for insurance reasons.
Yeah.
They do that. They jump out in front of cars to get hit. And if it decides that it's the person is younger than looks younger than the driver, so I'm going to choose that. But that doesn't take into account that this is an obvious insurance scam, right? And that the value of an insurance scammer is less than the person who bought you computer.
Yeah, absolutely, 100%. I totally agree with that. And I'm like, honestly, until it chooses the occupant of car over every single other thing. And listen, if a human was driving, like, they just might have a reaction, and it may be a conscious thought. They may do the wrong thing. They may end up killing everybody.
Right.
It doesn't matter. Like, it does not matter, because until it chooses me over everything else, then I don't ever want to put. And I'm way down with, like, tech. Like, I want us to have self-driving flying cars, but it needs to make that choice. And I don't ever want a computer or an AI to make the choice without the context of human reaction, human response, in the context of the situation. And like, it'll never be able to do that.
Yeah, no, I'm freaked out by it. I mean, obviously, like, in even the researchers here say it's a blue sky idea, but I mean, we have come so far is already, like, they are right though. The technology is already there for them to just cock up guns and make them completely useless. That is concerning, right? The technology is not there to do this well, but the technology is there to make your gun useless.
Yeah, I mean, we've had 1911s for a long time, so. Just kidding, guys.
Yeah. Those can't be made useless. They come from the factory that way. But
oh boy,
I'm just kidding. They were a great design 109 years ago.
I have several 1911s. I love them.
I have one.
You should have more. Everyone needs multiple. Because
I want a Delta Elite. That's what I want.
Oh wow. All right.
I mean, if I'm gonna want one, right?
Yeah, you might as well get the expensive one.
Are they that expensive?
I don't know.
I mean, they're not quite like, I know that there's all these Gucci 1911s, but I just think it's a cool piece of 80s. Anyway, we've patted our 1911 lovers in the audience enough. But yeah, it's ridiculous. It's but it is good to know that they're out there in the open, like, thinking about crap like this.
Yeah, and they even talk about the Teslas.
Yeah, and it says here at the end, it's likely that, just like Tesla's AI, a gun control AI could result in accidental and unnecessary deaths. But approximately 24,000 people die annually in the U.S. due to suicide by firearms. 1,500 children are killed by gun violence, and almost 14,000 adults are murdered with guns. It stands to reason an AI intervention could significantly decrease those numbers.
14,000 adults is a statistical anomaly in deaths in the United States. Like,
yeah.
Why?
Go work on that Tesla thing some more and get that number down, because that's where people actually die. We're all 200-pound, like, squishy sacks of beef that drive around in, like, thousands of pounds of steel traveling through space. That's the real place for y'all to be playing around.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm like, spend your thought processes on things that actually are dangerous to the country.
Yep.
Not made up nonsense.
Right. Oh, speaking of that, this is just a funny aside. I had and I don't know why it dovetails into this, but I thought of it. I had a telehealth meeting with my doctor today. And as you know, they don't want you to actually come in. I just needed a new prescription. So they're like, oh, we'll see you on video. I'm like, oh, perfect. Yeah, I'm right here at my desk. And then they send me a link to log in. And I just go, damn it. The first thing my doctor says is, it's a lot of guns. I was right here.
Yeah.
But I was just like, I'm a gun rights lawyer. Please don't
red flag me.
Yeah, do anything weird. This is, but that's like, I'm down with tech and stuff like that. But that was one thing that I was uncomfortable about. It's like, listen, doc, I love you, but just ignore the nice things on my wall, please.
Yeah.
Talk to me about my pills.
Mind your business.
Yeah. That's a lot of guns. Why, yes. For you.
If you only knew.
For you. Oh, man. But no, I love my doctor, and I hope they don't bother me.
Yeah. Don't me, bro.
Yeah. So next up, did you hear about this thing, the Tommybuilt thing?
Yes, I have.
So this is something that's it's kind of weird. The Tommybuilt T36 is the U.S. made facsimile of a G36.
Mm-hmm.
He's been making it for quite a while. It's quite expensive, so a lot of people don't have them. I don't have one. I'm not interested in paying that amount for what it is. But so he copied the lockout. And for those of you who don't know, because our ATF is a bad thing, they will sometimes get companies to do weird, arbitrary stuff to guns to make sure that you can't force full auto parts into it and make it run the way God intended. So Tom Bostic, the owner, he copied the already approved way that HK was doing this with the SL8, which is the civilian HK-made G36 facsimile.
Yep.
So naturally, he thinks that's all right. Then this week, or was it late last week? Either way, recently he posted this thing on his website, this letter of explanation that basically says in somewhat cryptic terms that the T36 receiver will now be classified as a machine gun, blah, blah, blah. And, basically says, send in your receiver and he'll kind of like rejigger it to make it less readily convertible, which again, I've said this 100 times. The law doesn't require anything about readily convertible. The law says readily restored. And so if this thing was made as a semi-auto, I think it's ridiculous and intentionally made to not be convertible, which it was. It's ridiculous, this whole thing. And so I went and digging. I haven't found any ATF letters. I haven't found anything that shows that they've actually done anything. But I found a post that was made and people were discussing this, where basically the contention is another company was trying to import the HK243, which is a civilian legal European market G36. But it's just like a straight up G36 without the auto sears and stuff in it. And ATF told them, no, you can't. It's a machine gun. And apparently that company got upset and said the T36 is the same thing. So ATF came and he showed them, look, no, it's not. I copied this other thing. Then they were like, oh, yeah, no problem. They took one for evaluation. So apparently he gets a letter, not a cease and desist, not a determination letter, but a letter saying that they managed to cut up a German full auto group and then beat a full auto bolt carrier into it
with a hammer.
Yeah. And then force it to get a couple of rounds off in full auto. So they are now of the position that it's going to be a machine gun. I think this is a bunch of crap.
Yeah. And okay, so a couple of things. I saw some direct quotes from him. I was actually looking for him just now. I can't find the direct quotes, but I remember enough to paraphrase.
Right.
He had a couple agents show. So he got this approved 2 years ago. He has a letter saying it was approved. He had a couple agents show up. They said it's no longer approved. It's readily converted to a machine gun. He said, what are you guys talking about? Is there a report? They said, yes, there's a report. He said, okay, I need to see this. They said, no, you can't see this. He said, well, okay, well, I need something that tells me that this is actually a thing. And they said, nope. But we were able to hammer a full auto trigger pack, which I actually just looked at Gunbroker, and you cannot get the full auto trigger packs, not even on Gunbroker, not even no law letter, not even like anything. They're like not there. So something that's almost impossible to find.
Yep.
And they hammered it in. And then he said, okay, well, I guarantee that it may have shot once, but it would never, it won't do another shot. It's like you're going to jam everything up in there. And they said, well, we don't know the details on that. Mm-hmm. So like, yeah, this is the biggest load of horse I've ever heard.
I think it's just a bunch of crap. And like I found him talking too. He was saying like, he basically chose to just deal with it rather than fighting it in court. And this really makes me upset because like, I understand, he's a fairly small shop. He's he doesn't necessarily have the money to fight it or whatever, but this is the kind of crap that it just like we wind up getting just bent over this garbage because none of the companies are willing to stand up. And I mean, I understand. I'm not like saying that like, oh, he should have put everything down on the line, right? I mean, I wish he did, or I wish he had like, well, he's in Florida. If he had called me, I would talk to him. But this is the kind of crap that is how non-law becomes applied to us, because he sent out this thing to everybody and he's saying that like, oh, if you don't hand it in, they're gonna come get it. This is gonna all happen, and we don't have any evidence of that. Now, to his credit, I'm sure he has reason to believe all this stuff. Like I'm sure. Look, they don't usually do it for no reason. They're probably going to decide to mess with him. But I just can't believe that all these people who bought a semi-automatic gun that was intentionally made to be semi-automatic are even thinking about this. Like it should not, that shouldn't be in the pale, because for one, you have to intend to violate the NFA, right? Like to be convicted, right? And just the idea that just think about that. This isn't that he assembled G36s from full auto parts. No. He sat there, made it semi-auto, intentionally made it so that you had to like, you couldn't just put the stuff in. So they had to modify and then beat in the full auto parts. And then they're like, oh, this is a machine gun. Like,
yeah, absolutely ridiculous.
This is absolutely ridiculous. I'm furious that they're getting away with it. They shouldn't. This is like, I don't know. Something should be done. They need to be sued over this. This is preposterous, because now is the time to bring these types of lawsuits when the court is vaguely in favor of the Second Amendment, when the court is, questioning all of these agency actions that are beyond the pale of law. Now is the time to do it. But this is what happens. They pick on people. They pick on the little guys and push them around, and then everybody else kind of falls in line because they don't want to get picked on. This is a game. They're playing a game, and it's a travesty.
Yeah, and he still has no definitive report, proof, letter, anything, because that's actionable. And he is replacing them for a little bit over $200, which is
$225.
Yeah, which is well under his cost. So he's losing a bunch of money. It's a small business. Like this could close him down. And yeah, man.
Yep. It's a mess. It's ridiculous. I don't know. I hope someone can get something together, and this is the type of stuff that we as a community need to do, though. We see something like this, there needs to be a way, but there's of course no platform right now we could use because it would be pro-gun, right? Mm-hmm. But if we could just all throw money into a pot and be like, this is for you to get rid of this, I think this would be a great choice.
Yeah, man. I want, if anyone knows him, know how we can help.
Yeah, no, and I'm in Florida, so I think he's based in Florida.
Yeah, why don't you just go show up at his shop and just be knocking on the door? Yeah. What you lawyers do.
Oh man, but yeah, Tommy, you're in our hearts and minds. Someone's gotta do something about this. It's such an egregious instance. And you think they're gonna stop. It's like the give a mouse a cookie thing, right?
Yeah.
You give a mouse a T36, he's going to come back for, AKs or something.
Give me a T36.
Right.
Give you a back rub, like whatever.
Yeah, whatever you want. But but think about that. Doing all that, so modifying a lower and then beating it in. What does it take? You're an SOT. What does it take to make an AR full auto?
Like nothing.
Nothing. Yeah. In fact, with a GI trigger group, you can drop in little easily made things. What about that? There's no rhyme. There's no reason. The way the law is drafted, it's actually pretty clear. And it actually makes sense. It's if you intend to do this, you did it on purpose. You made it full auto on purpose. That's a problem. This thing, there's no evidence it was ever full auto. Just that they beat the crap in there.
Yeah, with a component that you can't even get. Like it's not readily available to anybody.
Right. Yeah.
Nonsense.
Versus with AR stuff, like there's people who are like, the coat hanger thing?
Yeah.
I know where to get some coat hangers.
Yeah. I've heard that you could 3D print stuff.
Yeah. There's a Ross right down the street. But anyway, yeah, that just boils my blood, man. I'm really upset.
It's infuriating. I'll tell you what, we talked about this on WLS, and at first I was like, man, another company trying to get around stuff. And then I was like, you know what? Hold on. Like publicly on the show, I was like, hold on. That is so ridiculously unfair of me to even say that about Tommybuilt. Like that is one of the dumbest things that I've said. I was like, this is not his fault. And this, like the day it happened, like before any information came out, I was like, this is not his fault. Like, I don't even know what I was thinking. I completely changed my tune.
Yeah,
like,
I saw some people who were getting mad saying like, oh, how could he not properly make it? Like, blah, blah, dude. I'm not mad at him. I'm mad at the situation. I'm mad at the cost. I'm mad that he thought that it would be too costly to fight. Right.
Yeah.
I'm mad at the world that exists that created that situation. But like, he is probably sweating his nuts off right now. Just, he's in a bad way. And, I think we need to all get together and stand behind this guy and against this rogue bureaucracy.
I totally 100% agree. I'll do anything that I possibly can, whether with my platforms, with my money, like whatever. And I mean, not a lot of money, but
we already, I think we were going to send him one of those magic 8 balls. So he knows better about in the future.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's ridiculous.
No, wait, I got way more money than I thought. I got like maybe $100 in my pocket.
Dang.
Yeah. It's all yours, Tommy.
Yeah. What do I got? I got some lint.
Pocket lint. Oh, there's 20s in my wallet.
And I got a life card.
Okay, perfect. Oh, well, actually, yours is way cooler than mine. I got some cash, but you got some trash.
Oh, well, all right. Anyway.
Next story.
So, yeah, next story. This is another charmer. So, over in Missouri, there's a bill. It's being introduced to basically remove the prohibition on carrying a firearm while you're in public transportation. So to normal people who would look at this holistically and be like, generally it's disadvantaged people who don't have cars and stuff that use public transport. They might have to walk down some alleys and stuff. They should have a way of defending themselves. Maybe they should be able to carry their gun with them, on their way to work and stuff.
Yeah.
Well, it's not like that to the editors of the Kansas City Star, who are much more intelligent and probably handsome than us.
Yes.
See, they understand that this is simply a risk proposition that lawmakers should soundly reject.
What?
What do you not understand? What's your problem? What's your problem?
I can't even articulate a response right now because I'm just going to freak out. Like, of all the things, how I feel about Jim Crow laws and like anything that disallows the poor from defending themselves. Not even the poor. Like, there was a time in my life where I rode the bus a little bit, and like to tell me that I couldn't defend my life because I didn't have a car or I didn't have a license is what I didn't have. But to tell me that, like, are you kidding me? What kind of nonsense is that? Like, a lot of people ride the bus, especially in bigger cities. Here, not so much. Like Denver, Colorado, a lot of people ride public transportation, trains, buses.
Well, and if you're supposedly so, like, I'm sure these people are progressives. I'm sure they want people to be on, these like more carbon neutral type things. which is what they're always going for public transit, why do you want to do anything that would discourage people? But no, I know the actual answer to that is that they view guns themselves as a societal evil. So this is the logic of the Kansas City Star people. So they point out that the legislation was filed in response to a series of very violent incidents that happened along the light rail system in St. Louis area. Okay. And their argument is that light rail system is just in St. Louis, right? So they're hanging their whole hat on these, like, this spurt of incidents that happened here. And so, of course, the legislative response was, hey, it's kind of effed up that people can't protect themselves, and it's super dangerous on this thing. So why don't we let them do it? And so this is how they conclude. St. Louis has issues that Kansas City doesn't. There is no need for a statewide law. St. Louis needs to figure it out. I wish these guys would think like that more often, though. Like,
yeah,
when it comes to like federal and state laws, but yeah, and they go over here. Of course, the suggestion is that more guns is the answer to this epidemic. But
of all the things, okay, first of all, you know what stops people from mugging people on the light rail? Shooting them in their stupid ass faces. That stops it.
They hate that.
Yeah,
muggers hate that.
This one simple trick that all muggers hate.
Yeah,
shooting them in their dumb face.
So yeah, this was, and they can't. You know what? This is such like nobody even signed the damn article. It's by the Kansas City Star editorial board. So listen here, you bees, like stupid Hive. You can't even sign an article. How did that always upsets me. That, like, that you can't. I just got one question for the Kansas City Star editorial board. Why do you hate poor people?
Yeah. Also, can you don't?
Yeah. How about easily just not and stay home?
Yeah.
Stay home and stay quiet.
You know what? I bet money that the people who wrote this article, that the people in charge at the Kansas City garbage, whatever it is, I bet none of them ride public transportation.
Yeah. They probably drive a automobile.
Yeah. What if they just weren't allowed to have an opinion about a thing that they don't take advantage of because they have no idea what actually is going on there and what actually any of this is?
Yeah. And I mean, not to say that whatever St. Louis legislator does know exactly what's going on, because he probably doesn't, because he's a politician lizard. But
absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah. But this is a rational response. It's like, hey, you can carry your gun everywhere. And if you drive a car, there's no problem. But if you have to get on the bus, it's a problem. So who takes the bus? Poor people. So that means poor people can't carry their guns to work. It's an obvious issue, right? It's an obvious issue, and it's unfair. And like, I bet if you'd look into those high-profile violent crimes, probably poor people getting killed.
Yeah, probably gang related. Probably like.
Oh, who knows, right?
Yeah, who knows? I don't know.
Well, you know what's highly affiliated with gang activity? Low, financially disincentive or financially disadvantaged areas.
Yeah,
it all relates to that. I mean, like, all of this, if we were concerned about reducing violent crime, we would be focusing on policies that enable people to be able to freely start businesses and provide for themselves and gain a sense of value, because it's proven time and time again that what drives people to violent crime is, a lack of opportunity and feeling of not belonging in society. And it's a great way to not feel like you belong in society? Being told you can't make a living, right?
Can't make a living, can't defend yourself. But you would think that progressive left would be very interested, because I think that financially disadvantaged areas a lot of time vote Democrat. Would you agree with it?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
So by letting your voters protect themselves, you end up with more voters. But I think they actually truly know that the more they let people actually take care of themselves, the more they actually give, the more responsibility that they give people, the more to the right that those people will probably vote.
Yeah, I mean, I don't have enough data to, like, my gut says yes, probably.
Same.
But like, I don't have data on that. But even so, you know what? I don't even care, right? So if it became a progressive leftist position to give people the means to choose their own destinies, I wouldn't care if we voted in more of those. I might be annoyed about some other things, but that's my main concern, always has been and always will be, the freedom of the individual to decide what happens to his life. And this is clearly a law that harms that. And I think it's one that doesn't belong anymore. It should be gone.
100% agree.
Mm-hmm.
So shut up, Kansas City Star.
Yeah, shut up. Go. I don't know.
Go ride the bus.
Ride the bus. Yeah. See if you feel weird.
They would.
No,
They would
I mean, no, but that's the thing. That's the thing. It's not like, and all of the stuff that we're saying, the problem is they would probably sit down and actually want to agree and want to discuss this if they could get past one thing. The gun, right? The elephant in the room is that these people have a very simple way of viewing firearms, and that is that they are a societal problem. They are a toxin that releases violence. It like oozes out a bad juice, right? And that's how they think of guns. And that's why we're at these bulkheads, because we can't get to the part of the conversation you and I just had when they're like, yeah, but we can't have like guns there, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I've ridden the light rail in Denver a couple times, and I've always been armed, and I know it's not allowed. And I made that choice because I was like, well, my life is more important than getting in trouble.
But do they always judge by 9, carried by 6?
Oh, you know what else I've never ever seen on the light rail? Police, security of any kind.
They don't want to ride that.
No.
Yeah, dude. No, all the times I've taken the bus. I've done it all, right? I've had to move around a lot. Like I'd be doing a speaking gig in some city. I have to get from the airport to wherever, and I'm not made of money, so I'll do whatever the cheapest way to get me there is. And so it's sketchy. There's only been a couple. The one place I was at where I was like, wow, this public transportation is dope and clean was Indianapolis.
Yeah.
That's because there's no one there though.
Yeah.
It was just me and my own bus, like my own big bus. Just my
You're like, take me there, Charles.
Yeah, so Indianapolis, chef's kiss.
I have ridden the bus in Indianapolis, and it was very nice. I agree.
Yeah, because it was just you, right?
Yeah, it was me and a couple others, and we rode the bus. But then we found out that you could rent those scooters everywhere for like nothing. So we rode those the rest of the time.
Yeah.
Those are more dangerous than riding on the bus, by the way.
Oh yeah, yeah. So take your chances? Getting stabbed on the bus or flying into a gutter?
A gutter, getting hit by a car.
Yeah.
Into pedestrians. All these things.
Yep, a sand trap or whatever. But so yeah, that's a mess.
Yeah.
Next up one is interesting, right? Because there's a lot of different factors at play here, and I don't think there's a good guy in this situation. So Sig Sauer is facing a lawsuit from an ICE agent, Keith Slutowski, and he's claiming that his P320 discharged on his own while he was training in a government firing range. Basically, that it struck his hip and did all kinds of damage to his thigh. I know that we've heard a lot about the things going off when they drop, and I think some of those concerns might be overstated. But what do you think about this?
I don't know. I would have to see it. I got a couple things to say. First of all, the press release put out by his lawyers, Saltz, Mongaluzzi, and Bendeski. Yeah. A good name. Very, very good name. You know that they're going to get him a lot of money. So I don't know. Like, okay, we know that on some 6-hour P320s, when struck in the back of the slide extremely hard with a hammer or
drop the striker.
Yeah, it drops the striker. We know that.
Firing the gun. Yeah.
We've seen the video.
Yeah.
It doesn't appear that this happened here. I have seen many people try to be holstering or doing something and pull the trigger, or their shirt pulls the trigger, or something else pulls the trigger. So as much as I would love to slam 6-hour in the P320 right here, I don't believe it, and I don't trust it at this point. So I would have to wait until I saw more information to make a decision here.
And on top of that, ICE agents are some of the worst. There's I think they're about on the same level as ATF for me, and the worst is DEA. They're subhuman. But so one, I don't trust you, ICE dude. Sorry. Two, this is a thing. And look, cops shoot themselves when they draw their guns. They do it all the time. Right. I mean, you've probably heard, just in your life, you probably heard about 24 stories of on the draw, finger pressure is too hard along the side of the gun. And a lot of times it's holster choice where these holsters like errantly train them to put finger pressure along the trigger as you're drawing. And they blast themselves. They do it all the time. I believe this ICE agent just iced himself a little bit.
I kind of agree. Now, one step further, I honestly think that 6 Hour is probably going to end up liable here. And I think that one of the reasons, and you can tell me as you a lawyer and me a stupid person.
Lawyers are stupid too.
6 Hour did a voluntary upgrade to fix this issue. So I question, was this...
Wait, that was the striker issue.
With the dropping, right? Like,
yeah.
And I'm assuming it's a similar issue, right? Like gun safe, 5 trigger goes off when it's not supposed to.
I don't know. I think, so here's what I see happening. This is going to be a horrible proof problem because the whole question is going to be, did he pull the trigger or not?
Yeah.
How are you going to prove that?
The only way is video evidence. Like, I don't see how SIG loses this unless there's video evidence.
But they could be we're talking about a huge, ridiculous discovery, right? In the lawsuit, this company is going to, this firm is going to drag them over the hot coals, is going to be demanding all kinds of crazy stuff, demanding access to this, that, and the other thing. It's going to cost them a lot of money to defend. What I would do if I were SIG in this situation is just settle. And that's probably what they're going to do.
Yeah, I agree. They're going to settle. And honestly, like, I think that SIG, and I've called them out a lot, they should have done a mandatory recall on the 320 to fix this. No, the voluntary upgrade it's a cop-out.
Well, it's like, see, I'm of two minds on the thing. One, I don't like the gun, right? I've shot them. I don't think they're good. But I do think that this is an overstated concern, right, with the whole striker drop thing. I don't quite understand how that relationship could equate to the gun going off on the draw unless you're doing something you're not supposed to.
Yeah.
I really just, in this situation, even though it's a 320, which I agree is like a bad gun.
Yeah.
I believe that this was operator negligence.
Yeah. I agree. I mean, the chance.
But that said, so, and what you were saying, so them offering the upgrade program, that's a subsequent remedial measure. It actually can't really be used to prove that this one was defective. It's a kind of a rule like that. They have to actually prove that, they were aware of this defect that made this gun dangerous in this way. So if that, and this is me assuming that the upgrade was just for the dropping issue. I find it hard to, I guess if it's a situation where, if there's some, because there's a sear relationship, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so obviously if it was able to go off, and I'm making hand signals for you audio listeners, I'm making little sears with my hands. If this is able to go off by being dropped, then that must mean there's some situation where like the striker can jump off the sear, or the sear rebounds or something, right? I find it hard to imagine a situation where you get like that kind of, geometry problem that also happens by just like drawing the gun. You know what I mean? Unless it's like a very weak spring that could have failed, and so moving it could have dropped it out of the way. But I don't know. I imagine that this gun is going to be the result of, like, this particular gun is going to be subject to some very, very intense forensic examination.
Yeah, I can imagine that too. And here's the thing. There is a ton of P320s, M17s, M18s, all in circulation. Like, a ton. They have sold these things like gangbusters. You know what I don't hear of very often? I don't hear them just magically going off. You know what I do hear of a couple times? Law enforcement people that accidentally shoot themselves with the gun in some way. And I don't know A or B, but I'm saying that, like, I'm seeing a thing and it's only happening in a situation, and I'm not hearing about it in the civilian world at all. So yeah, I
you know what they should do?
What's
at the trial, what they should do is they should put the gun on the stand, and they should ask the gun if he just hates feds.
Yeah. And why are you so evil?
Yeah. No, and then the gun will start cackling maniacally. It'll be like, I didn't want to be an ice gun. I wanted to be sent to, I don't know, some other country.
I wanted to be on the side of a soldier.
Yeah.
And here I am. I don't know. Yeah, it's like, I don't get it. I somehow I don't believe you is going off a lot.
Yep. Same. Mostly because it's an ICE agent.
Mostly just 'cause I'm like, I don't.
The gun just shot me all by itself. Oh yeah, I'm sure, and I'm sure all of those. I'm sure all the evidence you planted just appeared.
I was at the range and the dude was talking, and he's like, "Yeah," and I was reholstering, and it went off. I'm like, no, you pulled the trigger. Yeah, like I'm trigger. You pulled the trigger. Your shirt pulled the trigger. Your jacket pulled the trigger.
Or your leather holster pulled the trigger.
Something, yeah. Like it was in a class. It wasn't my class. I just happened to be there, and he was like talking about it. And I looked down. He's got like burn marks and a hole clean through his pants. I'm like, Jiminy Christmas,
man. You got lucky then, huh?
You got real lucky.
Yeah. Like, no, people have died because there's you can strike a I think there's an artery that goes right in that zone. Right?
Well, there's the femoral on the inside front area.
Yeah.
On that side, there's blood vessels, but there's nothing huge and life threatening. But the problem is the bullets tumble. And
isn't it? Yeah, if you get the angle right.
Yes.
There's the one like behind your
the popliteal artery behind the knee that leads down to the dorsalis pedis. Yeah.
Yeah. You can hit that one.
you could definitely, they could tumble and they could take that out. And I mean, tourniquet is gonna really do a lot of good there.
Well, there we go. But so yeah, it'll be interesting. I hope we get to, these settlements are usually all quiet, but I'm interested just to hear what happens with that. I just think it'd be interesting.
Well, Matt, at least we still have Larry Potterfield.
We do. He exists, but no longer as CEO of Midway.
What?
No, what? But it's okay. It's okay. He's still chairman of the board.
Oh gosh.
Chairman of the board. So yeah, there's been. I mean, you guys all know Larry Potterfield and his foot fetish, right?
What?
But you never. Okay, so there's this internet joke, and I love Larry Potterfield. His videos are very entertaining and stuff. But there's this thing where his like wife would appear in the in several episodes, and it would only be her feet. And each time she'd be wearing like different shoes that you could like see the toes. And the joke was she'd be like, "Oh, another gun," but she'd be wearing a different pair of shoes. But the internet took this and was like, confirmed Larry Potterfield's a foot fetishist. Like the only time women are showed in his videos, it's just their feet. Oh. And so look that up. There's like a compilation of just all of the like women's feet in the videos.
I have never actually heard that before. That's hilarious.
Oh my God. It's a riot. And I mean, it's certainly not true. It's obviously just for a joke, but I like rolling with the jokes. So now the first ever non-family CEO out of the Potterfield family is now Mr. Matt Fleming. And he was hired on long ago in marketing, and he kind of worked his way up the ranks. And they just explained that they thought that this guy was a good guy and went with him for CEO. He looks very, I don't know. He doesn't quite look like you can put that up.
Yeah. All right.
Quite look like he could replace the legend.
I mean, he looks a little bit like a sports announcer.
Yeah. Yeah. And that just might be like the wide shouldered suit, right?
Yeah.
Or maybe this is just a large man, but he kind of looks like Larry Potterfield a little bit, though.
His head seems very small for his body.
Yeah, but just not as goofy.
Yeah, I don't know, but it seems like he's had really good success. I was reading about what he's done in the 20 years that he's been there, like increasing customer satisfaction, tremendous growth, winning a couple awards that I've never heard of before.
Yeah.
Looks like good stuff.
It says here his exceptional leadership qualities, attention to detail, and focus on serving customers make him the perfect choice to lead Midway USA in the future. And that's from Mr. Potterfield.
Wow. Well, good for them.
Yeah,
I wonder if it was like a hostile takeover. Wouldn't that be great? Like just Fleming was just like, "Come on, Potterfield, it's time to go."
Yeah. No, it's like, if you don't go, I won't give you the rest of the feet pics. Oh man.
Perfect. Well, congrats, Fleming. And Potterfield, we will always miss you. Rest in peace.
He's still there.
No, he's dead to me now.
Yeah, right, whatever. Yeah. We'll see. Fleming, you've got big shoes to fill in the YouTube situation there.
Exactly. But I bet Potterfield still does that posthumously.
We'll see. All right. And so last up now, remember the Defenders of the Lawn. No, this isn't last up. It's second to last up. So yeah, following all of that like obvious nonsense in the case involving the McCloskeys, who, as you guys remember, were the like vaporwave defenders of the lawn that stood on their porch with a like like A2 AR-15 H bar and a Jimenez, which was just fantastic.
Sorry, he had a finger on the trigger. My bad.
Yeah.
I don't.
So yeah, after all of that mess, where St. Louis Circuit attorney was ousted as the prosecutor, and all the stuff's going on, they've appointed a former U.S. attorney as a special office prosecutor to oversee the case, and he's promising that he's going to take a whole new look at all of the evidence and start holistically, which is a good idea, but also, why are you bothering? Because they've, the top officials in the state have already made it very clear that if you go ahead and do this, they're just going to overturn it anyway. So why don't you just like let them go?
Yeah. What do you have any insight on like what makes these prosecutors just like pit bulls and stuff like this? That even the governor was like, nope, no matter what happens, I'm going to overturn it.
Yep. So what it is that they're automatons. And so you can't actually blame them, because every morning somebody goes up over to their house and takes a big key and puts it in their back and just goes click, 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 right? And then they just know what to do. You can't be mad at them. This is what they do. And I've met a lot of prosecutors in my life. Maybe 2 I've met that were not complete automatons. And yeah, if any of you are watching, it's you're the 2. But it's one of those things that is so rote and repetitive that like the emotion and the controversy will like wear off on them, and so they don't generally like see it that way. They see it more as a numbers thing, right? And more as like a like, here's the elements of the crime. Did it happen? Okay, I can do this one because they did the check boxes. Yeah. Right. And not saying that they completed any crime here, because I don't think they really did, but yeah, so it's going to be interesting.
Yeah, this story bothers me from the very beginning, because these are not people that I would like. Like these are very, very progressive, like politically, people that I would probably not get along with at all. Yeah. And they would probably hate us, by the way.
Well, yeah, I mean, and I call them losers, but look at their house, but I still think they're losers.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Like, so I hate having to pick a side on this one. So
I don't have to pick a side. I'm just saying this is absurd. That's what I'm saying.
Maybe a meteor will hit the courthouse and we won't have to worry about any of this.
Yeah. I mean, but like at the end of the day, if I had nice things and it looked like my nice things might be at stake, there's no guarantee I wouldn't, try to do something to protect my nice things.
I don't criticize what they did. I think more people should do stuff like that.
Yeah, I mean, I do criticize the way that Miss McCloskey handled that and her weapon of choice, but Jen, the finger on the trigger business, that's just a little. But they're not gun people, so you can't really, they don't know any better.
Yeah, like they had a problem, and they did what they thought they needed to do. And again, like I said, the people on the light rail, the people who are trying to murder people all the time, shoot them in the face is a pretty good way to stop all that from happening. And same thing here. Like, people have the right to defend their property in most states, and they have the right to defend their lives in most states. In Colorado, actually, we can't defend property with lethal force, but we can defend property with force.
Yeah. So in Florida, we have something similar, and it's very interesting the way those definitions wind up being turned out. Mm-hmm. My favorite of which is people who, like, Floridians will often say that, like, there's this question that always happens is like, what if another dog is attacking my dog? Can I, would I be able to use my firearm to defend myself and my dog from? And they always say, no, you can't use deadly force again to protect property, because dogs are property. Yeah. Instead, I'm always like, if dogs are property, how is it lethal force? It's not. No, it's destructive force, right? So the moment you use the lethal force requires the ending of a human life, and if the law doesn't consider it, right? So these things are not as simple as they first seem. You do need to generally talk to a lawyer in your jurisdiction to really know the ins and outs of it. But I'll just say that in situations that are as boily and sensitive and just everything about what was happening to them. Look, the home, and this is something that in Florida our courts take very seriously. You don't mess with people's homes. All right. You don't mess with it. And basically, if you do, it's pretty much, the moment you burgle, like break in to do something, your life is forfeit. And I think that honestly, just given the sanctimony of everything involved, just the presence of a gun is something, right? That's not exactly lethal force. It's a communication, right? It's a communication of capacity to project force over a distance. I think that in that type of situation where bad actors may choose to use unlawful force, the communication of the capacity to project force against that bad action may be life-saving, right? It may prevent that from happening in the beginning. And thank you for coming to my TED Talk.
Yeah. Well said. Well said.
What do you think about that? What do you think about I don't like to say brandishing, right? Because brandishing kind of signals like a very, nefarious use of a weapon. But what do you think of just the simple presence of a weapon as a mean of deterrence?
That it is a really good question. And I always tell myself that if I pull my gun, if I get to the point where I believe that I have to pull my gun because I'm in fear of serious bodily harm or death, someone's getting shot. However, that would be the AI deciding that my gun couldn't fire, right? I think that's kind of ridiculous, but I always come from that point because I'm a good person and I don't want to kill anybody. I will not hesitate should they try to kill me, but I don't want to kill them. So if my gun comes out, it's only because I've gotten to the point where somebody's getting shot. However, if I come out and they whoa, and start running away or whatever, my gun's not going to, it is not going to shoot. It's not going to fire.
It's not nope, boss man said, if I come out, it's
yeah, exactly. It's not going to do that. I'm going to make that choice and I'm going to make that choice not to take a life if I don't have to.
I think that if I was in a situation like that, where there was a horde at so let's say I had a gate. I don't, right? But let's say I wish I had a gate. That would be cool. But let's say there was a horde there, right? And I step out on my, lawn and I'm like, oh, I can see I could see myself saying, you know what? I'm just going to put this sling on my shoulder. Just so everybody knows this is not the place to go, right?
Yeah.
That's my, I don't know. That's my general thought on the matter.
So yes. And there's so many different levels and layers of nuance here that I think it would be impossible for me to really I don't know, come up with, yes, this is how I feel about this specific topic, because I don't believe that a gun is a tool of intimidation. And what you just described would be intimidation, right? You would be intimidating the horde to, F around and find out. Right.
Well, I think that what they were doing was intimidation, pointing it at them.
Yes, absolutely. Without question. But maybe is even the presence.
So yeah, that's an interesting discussion, right?
Yeah.
Because
open
I think that weapon, I think that there's a way of holding a weapon. And this is the way I always carry my weapons when I'm going in a shop or whatever. I do the sportsman's carry where I put it under my arm.
Mm-hmm.
When you carry a gun like that, people just feel a lot more comfortable. And I feel like a slung rifle is a statement, but I don't think it's necessarily in that type of situation. I think it's more of a there is a gun here, type of thing.
Yeah, that's fair. I kind of agree with you on that. I think you turn me around to that point because I mean, when I see a slung rifle, I don't get it. I'm not scared or offended, but then again, I'm not some pantyway social justice warrior that, gets mad at everything in the universe. But at the same time, I'm very cognizant that it's there. And okay, going to Walmart in Colorado Springs, especially, you will see dudes open carrying. It's like a rite of passage here. You get a gun, you go open carry it in Walmart. That's
the only places I saw people open carrying when I lived in Alabama was Walmart.
So it's a thing. And like when I see them, I always try to see like what kind of gun it is. 'Cause then I judge them. Yeah. But I'm never like nervous.
Yeah. I mean, so yeah, I'm never nervous, but I am like judgy, and it's like, thanks, dude, you're making it so much easier on us. But yeah, and honestly, you're making me think about this way about it too. And on top of that, and I'm sure some of our viewers are thinking this, having a gun does also make you a prime target if there are people who are really, really nefarious intent, right? So that would be something that, like, if I was in their situation, I would think about. And honestly, the decision, and I didn't say I would choose to like take, an AK over my shoulder and stand around. I think what I would probably do is go inside and lock the doors and have it.
100% agree. And that's, I think I was just going to make that point, that it's so hard for me to think about these situations because I would not be in that situation, right? Like I'm not going to stand up front. Like if they start throwing crap through my windows, then yeah, like things will escalate very, very quickly, especially if they're like flaming things. Because that is, that would make me believe that I'm in fear of death or serious bodily harm.
Hardest part for you would be which belt fed you wanted to go with.
Right. I'm like, do I want the 9mm machine gun, the 45 machine gun, the 5.56 machine gun, the 308 machine gun, the 458 SOCOM machine gun? Yeah. That one, that's the one I would pick.
I think if I knew I was going to go down, like I knew that it wasn't going to, the chances were not good, it would have to be the Shoshaw.
Oh man.
You know what? I'm not getting out of this.
Rolling dice with both hands.
Yeah, whatever.
So yeah, I don't know. It's interesting.
Florida man's house swarmed. Last stand with a 1915 machine gun.
Yeah.
Of course, I mean, like we're being quite callous about this. Of course, we're joking. We would never, take pleasure in doing any sort of thing. We're just you're making fun of the ridiculous. Frankly, this is all related to the ridiculousness of this trial, right? Yeah. Of this case, and we're kind of just like waxing about how preposterous the whole situation is.
Yeah, and the way I feel about the McCloskeys, I'm like, they did nothing wrong. They did what they thought they needed to do. There was like a riot, basically. I mean, like, I don't care. It's people that were in a place that they shouldn't have been. Private property rights do exist. They went out on their front lawn. They did what they thought they needed to do. And I don't care about all the pedanticness of like finger on trigger and blah, 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 blah. Like, I get it. They did it. It doesn't really matter. They're not gun people. They're not going to know the 4 rules probably. So like you screaming the 4 rules at them just makes you sound like a clown.
Yep. Makes you just seem.
Yeah. I'm not going to put my finger on the trigger. I'm not going to point the gun at somebody unless I intend to respond with deadly force. But yeah.
And like you said, like I was staging that hypothetical, but I am the guy who would go inside, right? And maybe from a nice, like that house had plenty of vantage points that they could have been at, right? Yeah. So if we're tactically sound, that's what they would have done. But but they did, and it happened, and it's over, and it happened. And here's the question: is did they do something that is culpably wrong? And I think they may have done some things that were not terribly intelligent, but nothing that is criminally culpable, in my opinion.
Yeah, I 100% agree.
Yeah, so we put it's solved. New special attorney. You can just send us a check.
Yep. Turn the lights off on your way out, buddy.
All right. So this last one. Really interesting and a really cool thing. This is actually one of the first topics I wrote about when I started writing about gun law. And North Carolina is considering loosening their prohibition on church carry. So the North Carolina Senate Judiciary Committee has issued a favorable report for SB 43 in the state, which would expand the ability of citizens to carry while attending religious services. And so this is something that has always just boggled my mind, that at some point, there was a switch in this country where it went from you must carry arms to church in the event of attack by raiders, right? And there are early colonial statutes that required that able-bodied men carry a pistol and some shot to church. And then we went to, you can't have a gun in church. It's like dirty. And, it's one of the first articles I ever wrote, and it was about how guns in church are not dirty and how we need to get rid of these laws. And in fact, in the Bible, it talks about how the tabernacle was guarded, right, by armed men. Like it is defensive arms are clean, and it's at least from a and people might I'm sure there's all kinds of different religions out there. I've heard there's at least 3, but people might disagree with me. But in my faith, the way I practice it, defensive arms that are purely used for defense are clean. They are good to go anywhere. But for some reason, we have this orthodoxy in a lot of the American South that prohibits you from carrying a gun in church. And then guess where they go and do the shootings at?
Yeah. So, it's weird. Like here in Colorado, like we allow guns in churches. Like I think when Jack Wilson did what he did in Texas, I started looking at it a little bit more, and I was like, oh, I just thought everyone had this. I thought it was normal. And we've had new life. We had a shooting like literally 23 minutes from where I'm sitting right now. It happened, and concealed carrier killed the murderer, and it was a great thing. People died, but the killer dying is always a good thing.
Never clean.
Yeah, right. Never. But yeah, so I don't know. This is good. Like I think this is great. And the reason I think it's great, especially, is because it empowers private property owners to set their own security policy.
It's almost as if that's the way it's been supposed to be.
Exactly. That's exactly what should happen. So church, not a church, private property owners should be able to decide that on their own. And we don't need a law for that either. What's that?
You need a law for that.
Yeah, exactly.
It's guess what? It's called trespass. If they say no guns and you come in with a gun, you're trespassing.
Yeah.
Need any statutes for that. It's clean. It's old as English legal society. Like that's all we need. We don't need all this crap. We don't need all these specific rules. If the church says no guns for whatever reason, no guns.
It's up to them.
If you carry your gun, either risk trespass or go to a different one.
Yeah.
End of the day.
Totally
really.
Agree.
I did go to a church in Alabama that like. And I never looked at what I'm sure it was legal, but it was after some of those high profile church shootings happens, and like the pastor was like trying to like figure out, it was like the next day, trying to figure out how to like encourage us to carry guns without like straight up saying please bring your guns. He was like, I think he said something like, something like that happened over there, and they are not allowed to carry guns in church. And, I do hope that there are members of our flock that would act if, it was so awkward. And in my head, I was thinking the whole time I was sitting next to my buddy and I just looked over him and I clicked on my P99. I was like, click. We're good.
Yep. We good. Yep. Everything's fine.
Carl Walters got us.
Heck yeah, man. Yeah, like I think that's how it should be. And like if your church doesn't allow it, like yeah, it's private property. Yep. Don't go there. Go somewhere else.
Risk trespass or go somewhere else.
Yeah. Agreed.
And never don't I don't actually recommend you risk trespass. Just go somewhere else.
Yeah. I mean, we all are responsible for the own choices we make. Understand the results of those choices should it go south, and then make your choice based on that.
Yep.
I've actually trained church teams in guns, shooting tactics, and also medical.
Really?
Yeah. And I'm not a religious dude, but like it was, to me, that was like, it was an honor to be able to be a part of something like that, because I think it's a very noble and profound thing to protect people who are worshiping and people who are there for all the reasons that people go to church. Like to me, that was like, it was a privilege that I got to do that.
No. And I mean, that must be a good church that's serious about their flock, that's serious about the safety and security of their members, right? And the way I've always thought about it is you should just, and this is my faith, right? Any of you out there might be a different flavor Christian. I heard that there's at least 2 different flavors, but like the way I view it is that I don't think my pastor should be focused on, the scripture, should be focused on teaching the flock. I don't think he should have to think about the safety. I think like if that's something that we can give back, then I think that's my duty. It's, I give whatever I can to the church. And so one of the things I can give is that I am of a sound mind. I can legally carry the gun. And so I do. And and that's a duty I take upon myself, right? Because I care about the flock.
Yeah. Totally, 100%.
And any of you out there, if you can, don't think of guns in church as a dirty thing. Defensive arms are clean. They do not have, there is no like evil to them. They are just, as long as they are defensive arms, right? I do think it's different. I do think arms that are intended, and that's used, I don't mean like an AK or whatever, right? I think if you intend for the arm ever to be used in an offensive way, that you shouldn't bring that to church. But if you have your carry pistol or whatever that you consider only a defensive weapon, you should take it with you. You should.
Yeah. Mass killer comes up. Matt pulls out a shosha.
This is my defensive shosha. Chonk.
Here we go.
Jammed, but there's only some mass killer left. Flash like wolf.
Amazing. Money Matt, it's yours to wrap up here, buddy.
All right, guys. Hey, thank you again for coming. We really appreciate y'all checking out the show, whether you're watching on YouTube. Otherwise, be sure to check out Firearms Radio Network, where we've got all kinds of other programs you're going to love. But most importantly, got to remember, anything more than minimum compliance is self-regulation. We will see you next week.